What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? I'm back. I am back. Today is Thursday, the 29th of May, and welcome back to everyone, including myself. I have been MIA for, I think my last upload was 7, 8 days ago, something like that. So like a full week. I have been dealing with life, if you will. Um, it's funny. I was going through and attempting to, because I kind of know what I want to talk about, and it's all the stuff I've been dealing with. But I'm like, what am I going to title this video? And it has something to do with dealing with chaos and craziness, and yet, trying to flip the script, find something positive about the whole process. But I really did. Um, so out of this stuff, I'm going to tell you something amazing has happened. And that's best for me. If I can just focus on the positive stuff rather than the negative, I find myself in a better place, if you will. All right. So let me retrace my steps on this journey that I have been on. I'm gonna say it was Sunday, the day before Memorial Day. Um, I'm looking at the calendar if you're wondering where I'm looking at. The regular viewers already know. On the 25th, I, was up doing stuff, early morning kind of stuff, prepping for the gym, this, that, the other. Wife had, the holiday off. So we were coming up with some plans and things to do, maybe go get a bite to eat, run some errands, whatnot. I was going to go to the gym first. And I have a lot of bit of OCD. And I always, start the car for 5 or 10 minutes before I hop into it. It's an older vehicle. I just like to make sure Champagne, that's what I call her, is all warmed up and good to go. So I did that. Everything was fine. Walk outside to actually hop in the vehicle and hit the streets. And the moment my ass hit the seat, this crazy noise started coming out of my car. Like it sounded like all of a sudden there was also a motorcycle, like a real crappy dirt bike without a muffler, was trapped in my engine. So I cut the engine off real quick and kind of peeked underneath the body of the car, and I just saw all of this stuff. I didn't know what it was. It was little less than an inch piece of what looked like rubber, and it was just scattered everywhere, in the fine dust of this black matter. I was like, what is happening? I had no idea. I'm not much of a car guy. I know the general stuff, change your oil, your tires, stuff like that. But I was like, what could this be? So I didn't want to start the car again to try to, find it. So I just got my flashlight, got a towel underneath the car, and I started looking around. And I found that one of these belts that is necessary for the car's operation was destroyed. It like exploded off underneath there. So I was like, oh my God, what is this? So I started Googling and chat GPTing it and whatnot. There's a large belt in the car that I have, known as the serpentine belt. It wasn't that one. The serpentine, not that I even know what I'm talking about, but from the research that I did, that serpentine belt runs several different pulleys, these wheels that are, adhesed to the engine and cause things to move. So I was like, man, is this a timing belt? What is a serpentine, the timing belt? What is the timing belt on the inside, the outside? It depends on the car, I guess. Uh, but this smaller belt, the belt in question, the one that had the catastrophe, um, I, from all of my research, it said stuff like it could be an AC belt. And I was given it the make and model of my car and what is that smaller belt called? Well, come to find out, it's a power steering belt. Okay. I find this out later, but let me tell you how I got there. So we've only lived here in this city for like right at 1 year now. It's great. It's groovy. I love it. Lots of pros, not a whole lot of cons. But we came from the Austin area and we had lived there for, almost 10 years. And in that 10 years, I'd say about year 2 or 3, maybe 4, I found a mechanic I trusted that, was shop straight. I could bring vehicle to him and diagnose the problem and just be like, oh man, it's just this, no big deal. He wouldn't even charge me because he knows I'm coming back. Every oil change, every tire rotation, whatever it is, I brought it to him. And that was, man, the name of that place, that's crazy. His name is Greg, and I believe it's Premier Auto. And there's several. It's like a franchise thing. But this guy was in the Austin area, the greater Austin area, and he was right outside the Denver Tech Center. We moved a little bit further away during our journey, and I found another one that he told me that they're totally legit, because they're like mom and pop stores that are just a part of this franchise. And if you find a good one, it is a blessing for so many reasons. For like, if you want to go look at used cars and you're just like, I don't know enough about cars to know if this is a worthy purchase, they do this thing called a pre-purchase investigation. It's not really called investigation, but they do that. They'll come and they'll even they'll have the Carfax with them. They'll test drive it with you. They'll get underneath the hood. I mean, some of these guys are so thorough, they'll even hook up the computer system to see if there's any error codes inside the actual computer system of the car. So if I was going to pass any knowledge along to you today, if you're going to purchase a car, definitely a used car, have one of those mechanics come with you and look. One that you trust, one that you know. But how do you find a mechanic you trust and that you build a relationship with, and they're not trying to screw you over, and they're honest about what needs to happen, and they're not, dicking you over on whether it be the labor or the parts, or because if you're not informed, it's very easy to do. Well, you have to go and face the gambit and, trial and error until you find one. I have not found that person yet. But this whole experience allowed me to do so. So hail to the yeah, y'all. All right, so I'm on the Googs and I'm trying to find mechanics. And I mentioned that this happened on Sunday, the day before Memorial Day. We had plans. Those plans got kiboshed, if you will, because we had no way to move around unless it was with our feet. So I was really like dead set on finding a mobile mechanic, which kind of limits my options right away, because there's awesome mechanics out there, but who's to say the awesome ones want to come to your place? Because if they're really good, they're probably busy enough and don't need to come to your place. It's unfortunate. But in a highly packed city like the DFW area, they got options. And you as the customer have options too. But, what option do you want to take? So I did a bunch of review checks on all these different mobile mechanics, ones that are close, ones that service my area. Not only read reviews, but the Yelp process. I even had AI pulled up and asking them questions about reviews, even on each of these mechanics, how long they've been in business. You can even ask your chat GPT or whatever AI you're using, how many bad reviews do they have? And they'll search all the different review spots and let you know. So I whittled it down to a couple. I don't remember the first one that I only remember the names of the guys who actually run the business, because that's who I was interested in getting in touch with. But the one I found that had the best reviews, and just like the reviews I'm looking for are like legit, true, honest, they shoot you straight. There's no, they're not trying to hustle you or sell you on anything you don't need. That's what I was looking for. And I found one that pretty much matched all that criteria, but you just never know. You know what I mean? Because some of these reviews are from 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 2 years ago. Is the same guy still running the business? And is he or she still running it the way that they were? You just never know. I mean, people are people and things can happen, and your whole agenda may change as far as your business and your personal life and all these things. So I'm worst case scenario guy. That's why you hear me saying what I'm saying now, because I'm thinking way too deep into it. So I pulled the trigger and I called him up. He didn't answer. I waited till Tuesday. So I was like, oh, I bet he is. I just envisioned him busy with grease on his hands and doing something. And so I'm probably not going to get a call back for a while. I'm going to stop telling the story a little bit and tell you a little bit about myself. And those that know me know me. Um, and it's in that same vein of thought of worst case scenario. When stuff like this happens to me and I can't seem to find a way to wedge myself out of it, or no matter what my brainstorming comes up with, it's just, you know, obstacle, brick wall, whatever it is, I kind of internalize this stuff. And the younger, less educated about himself, Dick, would lose his temper in this situation and, have it affect every single aspect of his life until it got remedied. And the problem with operating like that, not a lot of remedies. You know what I mean? And you just keep digging a bigger hole of anger, frustration if you operate that way. And, since I've started this channel, I have talked about, and this can sound a little, woo woo, as they say, but like, when the universe talks to you, you need to listen. And I can't remember what this word is in Korean, but it's the word that represents chaos. It's also the word that represents rebirth. And it's all about, finding something positive within the situation. Our car needed to be fixed anyway, but that shit's expensive. And, I am still unemployed. And I mean, I'm doing stuff, but that stuff ain't making me any money. So we're tight with our cash and all these things. So instead of letting all that get to me, I was just like, all right, let me just handle this because there's nothing I can do about it. And the only thing I can really control about this is how I let it affect me. All right. Even my wife noticed that I was trying. She could see me like physically and mentally trying to just stay in the moment, stay in that pocket. There's, I talk about not dwelling too much on the future. Can't change stuff from the past. What's going on right now? So that's what I was doing. I was really trying hard. And it kind of paid off because by the time I got to talk to this guy, I had accepted my fate. And I was still kind of worst case scenario though, because I knew it wasn't just the belt. Um, and he kind of doubled down on that when I was mentioning what I thought it was, because we're just doing this over the phone. Because he's got to see if it's worth it for him, schedule wise for him and I. That's one of the upsides about being unemployed. I could definitely be here to meet the guy. But yeah, he informed me. He's like, belts rarely, I mean, unless this belt is just super, super old, belts really just don't go bad. They don't have catastrophic failures like this, unless there's something else underlying. And it could be the pulley thing. I don't know if they're called pulleys. They look like wheels, whatever. It's what the belt is spinning on. So he's like, yeah, more than likely we're going to have to replace that too. He was like, the belt isn't crazy, but that pulley is a little crazy. And through my research earlier in the day and researching all the pieces and parts that could necessarily be needed to be replaced, some of those other parts were thousands of dollars. My car it's almost 20 years old. It has like we're right at 160,000 miles, but it's a Lexus, AKA Toyota. So that 160,000 miles don't mean Nathan, y'all, because they last forever. They're legit. They are amazing vehicles. It's going to be the only vehicle I ever buy again. Even when I hit the lottery tonight, I might mess around and get a Ford Mustang, something muscle carish and stuff to tinker and scare the kids with. But everything else, you know what I mean? And from what I understand, 2012 to 2017 Toyotas are pretty good. I love the Tacomas. I'll go Tundra if I got it like that. Anyway, back to the story. So we talk. He's like, all right, I'll come and check it out. He has to find out where we're at. Luckily, it was inside my garage. My garage barely fits my vehicle. So once the car is in there, it's hard to move around. So I was thinking to myself, oh, damn, I can't necessarily pull this out because the way my parking situation works here is this tiny garage opens up and then I back up, or whichever way I pull in or back up. There's another garage right there. So if I were to park my car to be worked on, it would eliminate the ability for my neighbor to leave their home. So I'm overthinking it again. Whatever. Welcome to Dick's Brain. Uh, so he gets here, and we're got the hood popped. He's looking at everything, and right away, I just got this feeling about this guy that he was legit. I mean, I could kind of tell talking to him on the phone, but I pride myself on my like people reading abilities. Um, and I could just tell he was shooting me straight, telling me the truth. Super busy dude. Like if I've ever seen somebody that's like a workaholic that they're making it positive, it's this guy. This guy's name is Ham, Hamm, I believe. And the name of his company is DFW, Dallas Fort Worth Mobile Repair. So he's a mobile mechanic, yes, but he has a shop, all the things necessary. Uh, but let me tell you, before I finish this story, he's my mechanic, y'all. Totally legit. And one of the first reasons why I say that is while we were walking around the car, he was pointing out stuff and explaining to me this works this way and this helps this and this, whatever. And I knew I had a bunch of stuff wrong with my car. The last time I had my car checked out at this place called Premier Auto here, I had the brakes changed. And that was like freaking 800, 900 bucks. And that was just like 3 months ago, something like that. When it rains, it pours, as they say. Uh, but I knew that we had an issue with the power steering, which made sense that it was the belt, something to do with the power steering belt. I knew that we had a gasket issue because there's oil leaking out of the top of the engine that leaks over everything, and that oil's super hot, so it can corrode hoses and all kinds of stuff. So he's going around and pointing all this stuff out. And I was like, okay, man, okay, look. He's literally showing me on his phone the parts that would be necessary. He's letting me see these things and how much they cost because he doesn't poke it to you. He doesn't screw you over on the parts cost. I mean, because you can Google and AI check and just whatever to see how much these parts really cost. And if somebody's overcharging, you'd be able to tell because you're like, oh, I found this belt for 30 bucks. Why are they charging me 120 for the belt? Oh, speaking of 120, it was $120 to have him come out and just check the vehicle. Like that's their safety net of, so you're not wasting their time. 120 bucks. So I was already kind of about the 120, but whatever, because I knew this was going to cost money and I could just see it, adding up. Ding, 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 ding. But as he's showing me on the phone and I'm trying to like calculate in my head, I was like, okay, oh my God, we're at like $3,000 in my head. I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay, man. I was like, it's brass tacks time. I can't remember what I said, but it was something like that. I was like, what could we fix to get us operational? I mean, because this is our only vehicle and we need this. We just kind of lucked out that school has just ended. Like, man, talk about the universe. You know what I mean? Because if we were still trying to operate and get my, kid to school and my wife to work, which she still needs to do, but they give her a little bit of a hall pass so she can work from home, but she has to also work from the office. So it's this thing, they got to go, but there can be days that they don't, which is nice. uh, so that kind of helped. But I was like, look, man, I got to get back on the road soon. Like, not only do I need to find a job, and yeah, we can Uber, but that gets expensive. Uh, but, life, we got to do life, and you need a vehicle to do life. And he was like, okay. He was like, check it out. In his discovery of my wonderful champagne, that's the car's name, Champagne. Uh, I think I said that already, but whatever. He was like, your radiator is trash, brother. It's trash. And I was like, really? Because right when we got this car, that was the only thing that really needed to be fixed was the radiator. So the people we got it from just put on a new radiator. And that's how we, first were introduced to the wonderful vehicle that is Champagne with a brand new radiator. And I would say that was probably about 3, maybe 4 years ago. It could be more, I don't know, but I would think a radiator would last longer. But I would, during this winter time, I noticed anytime that I was warming up the car or I parked it after driving it for a while, some of the coolant I could see pink juice underneath the car. And I was like, why is this only happening when I'm stopping? So something definitely was going on. But he showed me this thing down the edge of the radiator as it's attached to the other thing that sits in the front, which I thought was the radiator. It's not. And and you could see it. It was just like pink crust all the way down. He was like, look, he's like, if you don't replace the radiator, it's one of those things that while you're on the road, once it kicks the bucket, I mean, your car just it overheats instantly, and then you're kind of stuck there and all that kind of stuff. He was like, so I definitely suggest the radiator, which I was not planning on doing. Um, but we got it done. But he said, you definitely need the belt, of course, because that's what created this whole thing. But you also need a power steering pump. And I was like, damn, man. But we needed to fix the gaskets. I said, I can't do that right away. He's like, the car will last, but you definitely need to address it. And I was like, all right. So we summed it up to the three things. We got the power steering pump, we got the belt put on, and we replaced the radiator. Now, let me tell you why this man is so amazing. Ham is the man, y'all. I'm telling you for real, because as we sat here and I was like, he could see it. He could probably hear it in my voice. I was stressing. And I was like, well, how long is all this going to take? And can you really do this from here, from my garage? He was like, no. Yeah, right. So what do we got to do, man? What do we got to do? Hold on. Nicotine. He was like, you're going to need to tow it to my shop. And I was like, okay. He's like, I got a guy though. Like literally, he called him on his phone. The guy was like, yeah, I can be available by 7:00. And it's like 4:00 now. On this day, it was 4:00 when we're talking. He was like, all right, well, he was like, you'll probably be receiving me a call from me. And then we started talking with ourselves again. And he was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to need this in the shop because I need to raise it up. I need to get it on the lift. I need to get underneath this thing, plus all his tools are there. He has a tool truck that he brings with him, but, of course, to get it done. But I was like, what kind of time frame are we looking at, man? Like, I guess because I said how soon, like I was prepared to spend this week without a vehicle because of the situation. And, my wife got permission from work and we were going to focus this week. And at this point, when he said this to me, I thought maybe he was, as the kids say, trolling. Or I thought, oh, okay, this is probably some kind of hustle or just something. It didn't sit well with me. But the more I talked to him about it, I was like, this guy is for real. Like he's telling me that once I drop off the car, these three things, they sound so big to me. They sound like this is going to take a hot minute to fix. Plus, you got to get the parts, man, because, you don't just have each model and make of every single car and every single part. So you gotta get the parts. You have to order them. Some places deliver, all this kind of magical stuff. But he tells me, he was like, I can have it back to you tonight. And I was like, what? I was like, are you serious? Like my wife was right there because we were going over it with him for cost and timing and everything. He's like, yeah, tonight. And I was like, okay, all right. I almost wanted to do it to see if it was possible. And man, let me tell you, it's possible. He did it. He freaking did it. And let me tell you, so when you don't have power steering in your car, because he went ahead and took the rest of the belt off because it was just holding on by strings. And, I ain't trying to brag, but I'm about 176 pounds of shut your mouth. I'm pretty strong. But when you don't have power steering, it's so difficult, especially if that car doesn't have any motion forward or backwards or whatever, because that helps you turn the vehicle it's pure forearm and bicep strength to get that thing to move, depending on how heavy your vehicle is. But once you start to get some inertia, you can make the thing move. So we were going to make it easier for the tow truck drive to pick up. So we got it out and I was like, why don't I just bring it out to a parking spot out here? And he was like, we'll take it to the, outside the apartment so you can hook it and book it. Oh, that's cool. Hook it and book it. I just wrote that. I bet they use that in their industry. Hook it and book it. So we get it out to one of these commercial, industrial buildings that kind of surround my apartment area. And we get it in that parking lot. He calls the guy, gives him the address, and he was like, okay, this guy's going to be here about 7. And it's about 5:00 when we're doing this. And he's like, okay, guy, I'll be here at 7. And I was like, all right. But I just started noticing all these signs that were like, not necessarily private parking, but like, don't park here, you're going to be towed. And then it gave the name of the tow company and all that stuff. And I was like, you sure it's going to be okay here? And he's like, yeah, it'll probably be all right. So I go back home. I'm game planning with the wife, this, that, the other. We're talking about cost and how we're going to manage it. But I just started having this feeling. I was like, watch somebody else go out there and tow my car. And then I have to get it from an impound first to get it to the shop. I was like, I'm just going to go out there and kind of sit with it. So I went out there. And when I did, security guy was out there walking around and he was kind of like, give me the, hey, is that your car? Is that your car? He's like, yeah, you're going to need to move it. He's like, if you weren't out here, I'd have told the tow truck guy already. I was like, all right. So I called up the mechanic and I was like, hey, man, I'm just going to move this in front of my leasing office. And they have tow signs too. But luckily, they hadn't closed yet. So I took my forearm strength self and got that thing back to the apartments. And it wasn't crazy. But man, if you need to make a turn to where you have to kind of like hug the lane so you don't intrude into the opposite traffic's lane, that is not happening. You're going to be like, hold on, man, wide berth coming through. Um, so I was skeptical about that because he was like, if you're okay with driving it to the shop, we can just drive it to the shop. I just didn't feel comfortable doing it, man. You know what I mean? Maybe if I was younger and living by the seat of my pants. So get it to the apartments. Luckily, the apartments was still open. And I was like, hey, I'm going to leave my car out here. They were like, it's cool. We're about to close. I was like, tow truck guy is coming. Tow truck guy shows up, right? He calls me. He sends me an image of his destination on like a map quest or whatever. I just said MapQuest. Y'all remember MapQuest? Is that still a thing? I don't even know. But he's like, yeah, hey, it's Juan, and I'm headed to come. I'll be there in 16 minutes. I was like, all right, cool, cool. And so he gets here. He's got the huge thingamajig. It's all super nice. Gets the car on there, and I learn what his name is, and it is Juan Valdez. I don't know how old you are, viewers, friends, countrymen, or wherever you're watching from. What it do? What it do? But Juan Valdez is a childhood memory of mine. He was like a Hispanic man in a coffee commercial that always had like a burro with him. And like their commercials were always like a window and sun rising, and then Juan Valdez would appear with a cup of coffee and hand it to you through the window. Juan hands me his business card from his tow truck thingamajig, and I was like, bro, I will never forget your name because it's a core childhood memory of mine, Juan Valdez. So yeah, gets it over to the shop. I text the guy, the shop owner of the mechanic shop, and I was like, hey, he's headed over there. He was like, all right, cool. And what we needed to do was get him money for the parts so he could get started. Um, he was like, I'm not going to take the whole thing from you now because he was like, I don't know how much labor and time we're going to spend on this. But man, if he gets it back to me by the night, I mean, how many hours are left in the day? So that was kind of cool. And I was still like, is this really going to happen tonight? So we sell him the money for the parts. He's literally waiting outside the parts store, or it's what it sounded like. And he was like, okay, got the money. I'm going in. I'm going to get all the stuff. So he gets all the stuff. And he was like, I'm headed back to fix it. And this is like 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. And this dude has been working all day, like all day. And he explains to us that, his wife and kid are in another country right now. So he is just working to keep himself out of trouble. And 100%, he is out of trouble because this guy is a worker. When you talk about grinding and sharpening the axe and screw motivation, because it's all about discipline, this dude is living it. All right. Ham is the man. I cannot sing his praises enough. So I have been antsing my pants during this whole thing because I like to move around. I like to do stuff. Whether that's just having the option to hop in the car and go run an errand or go pick something up, or just whatever, you know what I mean? So I was like, all right, I'm going to walk to the convenience store because I had not been to any of my vape shops because we didn't have a vehicle. And I was, due to the stress and everything else and my normal habitual nicotine habit, I was like, I got to go up to the convenience store and buy whatever they got. Or I'll start, if I don't have nicotine, I start like reverting back to childhood energy levels. Like the shit is annoying for everyone. And I'll just, Tasmanian devil all over my apartment. So I walk up there, get the stuff, come back to the spot. We have some dinner. We're chilling. We're still talking about the car and, the expense. And, how it's going to affect our life. And man, I can't believe, can he really get it done? Um, I had already dismissed it. I just totally expected and was okay with this car taking a couple days for this to get squared away. It's kind of what I'm used to in these kind of situations. And I thought, of course, common sense, this is going to take a few days, at least 24 to 48 hours. These days that we go to bed kind of early, because we're old. And it's kind of cool to wake up early, get shit squared away. And you know what I'm going to say. Take the day. How can you take the day if you sleep it away? Oh, that rhymes. That's t-shirt. That's branding material. How can you take the day if you sleep it away? It depends, though. There's people on shift work. I know. I'm just being funny. You can take the night, too. Okay? Get in there. But I'd say we laid down for bed 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I don't sleep very well. I get up, whatever. And my phone goes, because that's the sound I have. And I was like, what? I have cameras and stuff, and it sends me notifications when the cameras. And I noticed it was a text message, and I was like, text message at midnight. I was like, even the spam calling, whatever. So they don't do this at midnight, because I'll get weird spam text too. And it's him. It's 12:05, and he's like, I'm finished. And I was like, what? Oh my God. Wifey was sleeping. So I was like, holy cannoli. I was like, the first thing I said was, I'm just so impressed, bro. Because what the fuck? How did you have like 100 people at your shop? Because I'm assuming workers don't want to work, 14, 15, 16 hours a day if you are employing other mechanics at your business. So I was just so impressed. I was like, yeah, hey man, because I'd have to get an Uber to go pick it up at nighttime anyway. I was like, well, I'm so impressed. Thank you so very much. And I will see you in the morning. They open at 9 o'clock. So yeah, the day rolls around and I'm like, I'm gonna go get the car. I had networked with him a little bit through the day with timing and stuff, because he's doing his thing. He's out and about doing the mobile mechanic stuff while dudes are working at his shop and he's working at his shop. Yeah, got it done. So I go up there and I'm talking about all the pieces are new, completely replaced. My car still needs some love on some other things, but it rides better than it ever has. Man. And so then when he was finished, we paid him for the labor and everything was hunky-dory, good to go. And he was like, all you need to do to get this car up and running to be like squared away, good, circle the square, all that stuff. That's a Freemason thing, circle the square, whatever. Illuminati. He was like, you just need to fix the engine oil leaking from the top from the gaskets, and then your suspension, and you're pretty much legit, because this is going to be my bonus's kid's car once the lottery ticket hits tonight, and we give her this one, and we get a 2018 Toyota Tacoma with blackout murder paint and only 67,000 miles. I'm trying to work that into the universe. Abracadabra. It is spoken. It is so. Okay. I have not. That's the story, y'all. Thank you, Ham. If anyone needs repair in the DFW area and you need a trustworthy mechanic, someone that's going to shoot you straight, someone that if you need to, because you can't afford certain things, will tell you exactly what you need, not trying to push you overboard on the finances, just a trustworthy, good dude. Man, like, did we just become best friends, bro? Because I like this guy. He's cool. He's super, super cool and super professional and knows what he's doing. And I could tell by his coworkers or his employees, they like working for the guy. And those are all key, elements to the recipe that is a successful business. But if you ever need repair, or if you're going to go buy a used car, you gotta get in contact with Ham. DFW Auto Repair. Google it. It's in there. Read the reviews, because I'm going to write one too. And it's going to be glowing. You'll see it. You will see it. Due to my weird verbiage, you'll probably recognize it right away. All right, that's the story. Now we're going to do a little housekeeping. I have not put up a video in a hot minute, y'all. So I'm going to try to get back on track. I'm kind of breaking the rules right now too, because my wife is actually home. But what's cool about the microphone is you can't hear anything in the other rooms unless you're directly in front of the microphone. So I'm gonna probably back to regular scheduled programming tomorrow, shooting the video early because it's like 4 or 5 o'clock right now, and I never do this. I just left the gym. I am starving, hungry. I need to take a shower, but I wanted to get this out there. Say what's up to my people. Let them know I'm still alive. Dick is still out here taking the day, y'all. Let's go. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and dip because I'm sure I don't know how long I've been talking, but it's probably been, oh yeah, we had like 40 minutes almost. All right. Much love to the day takers. Much love to the people who just wanted to check it out. Thank you so very much. You know what I always say, and I'm gonna say it again. Dictate your day. Command success over this process. Take your day. Get in there. And I always follow with, if you're having trouble on figuring out how to take the day, it's pretty simple. And this is a great way to get started. Spread your love, share your knowledge. Get in there. All right, day takers, I'm out. I'm a dip. Dick is gonna dip. I will see y'all on the flip. Things are getting better too. I have equipment. I have microphone now, not this one, but like the Yeti. I've got the camera. I had to take a hiatus from me learning the new steps of, stitching videos and reacting and all that stuff. But I'm back on the attack this weekend. I'm actually going to do things, try to get up a video of some different substance than me just putting up raw dog, no edits. All right. I love you guys. Peace and chicken grease. And I'll see y'all on the flip side. Much love, everybody. I'm sorry, no music today. I've been busy. Love you. Peace out.